AA, see you in church. Hi, I'm Manuel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, write a message, let me know how you like what I was talking about, and leave a message on a topic that you'd like me to talk about. And don't forget to put the hand up. I always do, so I do it right away. And for me, it's easier. I'm not going to go back. I do once in a while, but most times, no. I'm not going to do that. And if you believe I am, surprise! Nope. Anyway, um, it's Friday, so of course it's story time, story time. Anyway, I thought about what story to tell you. Should I tell you one of the groups or one that it's not really a story? It is, but it's not. The other groups were something um, I could not prove false or truthful. This this is something I lived. So I think I'll do that one. When I was younger, I hung around with a group of friends, and they all started becoming jerks for some reason. So we went two different ways. And by me going a different way, I started making new friends. My new friends were cool. I liked them. Different. I started not wanting to go the same road everybody else went. So the people I started hanging out with were just a whole different type of person. Their money availability was beyond and beyond. Snobs. I liked snobs. Not, it's because they were willing to be who they were and not care what other people thought in somewhat. Anyway, we went to one of the people's houses. They're not really their house, their great grandmother father's house. And um, they were trying to tell me that there were ghosts at this house. And I was like, sure there are. I thought it. I didn't say it. I just thought it. And they could see it in my face that I really thought that was silly that they were saying that. And they were like, oh no, there's real ghosts. And I was like, I didn't say anything. Oh, okay. And they knew I was not believing. So they were like trying to convince me. And I was like, it doesn't matter to me. You know what I mean? It would be something if it mattered, but it didn't. So I just sort of smiled. And it just seemed to irritate them. So there we go to their great grandparents' home. And there we go. We go inside, and I say, well, where's your grandmother? She goes, oh, she's sick. She's upstairs. And I said, saw the grandfather. And I saw a movie, and it had this whiteness here. And they said that it would get whiter and whiter when you're consuming poison. And so I asked him, have you been to a doctor lately? And he goes, oh no, my wife has and everything. I said, well, have you tested for arsenic? And he goes, arsenic? Why would we test for that? I said, well, I saw a movie and they made description of when you're have a lot of arsenic in your system. So anyway, he was like, okay, whatever. I'll go get tested. And I said, oh, good. I said, well, you have money. I said, there's no reason why you shouldn't. I said, unless you don't want to live. And he's like, what? I said, yeah, arsenic accumulates. There's certain things that you may be working with around your house, and it'll have an amount of arsenic. And somehow that arsenic gets into your system and it accumulates. It doesn't empty after a while. You have to do something. They'll give you pills or something. That's what they did in the movie. And he says, well, in the movie, why were there? I said, it was some weird movie. The lady who worked in the church, she didn't like what was going on in the church. So she had poisoned the young priest. The older priest was fine. The younger priest had died. Another young priest come and he died, and on and on and on. And they found out that that lady had been giving them arsenic, and it built up because it doesn't go through the system easily. So anyway, he says, okay, I'll check. So him and his wife, she says she's going in 2 days to a doctor, so we'll get ourselves checked. And I said, good. So we were there and everything, and I told him about what his great-grandson, because he called him Grams, but he really was a great-grandfather. He was the father of their grandfather. Anyway, but they didn't call him great-grandfather. They called him grandfather. So anyway, he goes over, and we were looking through these books, and I kept seeing in the far corner, right there, an image. And someone had told me about it, and I had looked at this book, and it showed that house, and I was like, oh, and it said that this house had blah, 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 and had murders or whatever in it or something like that. And it was supposed to be haunted with, her name was something, I think it was Anne something or other. Anyway, so we go and we talk to him, and I saw this little face, and I said, who's that? He goes, who's who? And I pointed in the corner, and you can see a little shadow of a face. He goes, I never seen that before. And he goes, I don't know. And I said, could it be a servant? He goes, I have servants. They didn't look like her. And anyway, so then another picture. There she is in that far corner again. And he was noticing that. And as he sat with us, he had been standing. He sat down with us, and he was move over, and he told me to move over, and I moved over. And the pictures, he kept seeing the little shadow in the corner. It was him and his wife, a whole family, and in the corner, a little shadow right there. And so he was like tripping out. He was like, oh my gosh, who the hell is that? I've never seen it before. And I was laughing. I thought it was just so funny that I'm not in the family and I see it right away. Everybody had seen these pictures. And the great-grandson goes, I've never seen that in that corner. You think it just appeared? I'm like, no, they took the pictures and that image, some reason, was there, and you guys just not paid attention. Me, I'm looking at the whole picture, so I see the image there. So they keep going and going, and I told them, well, I read something, and her name was blah, 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 and something or other, and it was just weird. And he says, oh, he goes, I remember that name. And I said, oh, so did you meet her? He goes, oh no, she was murdered. I said, well, where was she murdered? He goes, well, we used to have some apples in the corner, an apple tree, and they used to call her Apple Annie. That's what they told me anyway. And she was out there near that tree. and they killed her. They said someone had shot a gun somewhere and the bullet went through her chest and it went lodged into that tree. And she bled to death. And the tree was some weird ass apple tree that we didn't like. It had a face on it, he said, and it creeped me out. We bought the home. He said it was a good price. We purchased the home, but it had that freaky apple tree there, and we pulled it out, yanked the tree, dug around, pulled everything out, all the roots, and put an orange tree there. He says, and had some really delicious oranges that grew out of that tree. The tree looked normal and everything, but that apple tree was freaky. And I put in another apple tree, but on the other side, and other fruits and everything. He says, and we had no trouble from anything. We lived there happily. We raised our children here, and with this, here we are. And I said, oh, well, that's cool. I said, but I wonder why, you know, that image is there. He says, well, I don't know. I never saw the woman. All I know is I heard that story about that tree, and that tree had this lumping face coming out of it, and yanked it. He goes, I think there's a picture here about the tree. Like, he turned the tree, and there it was, a picture of the tree. And the tree had like a witch's face in it. You could see an eye, you could see a nose on the thing, and it had a beak light coming out. And they looked at the face on the tree, but then they looked at the face on the picture, and they weren't the same. and he goes, you thought that was the tree's face? And I said, I don't know. Maybe her soul went into the tree. He goes, yeah, but it would take years for that tree to shape into that look. He says, and we had the house about 10 years after she had died. We purchased the home. He said, we just had to redo the roof, and that was it. And so we were like, oh. He goes, oh yeah, when I moved in, I had them look over the whole place, pull out the tree, put in more trees. He goes, it's just the way you do things. You got to take care of your property and all of that. So then we had a good time with him and everything, and we were all into everything, and we had food. We had gone and sat down and ate, and we went back to look at books and see if there were more pictures with images, which there were. And then all of a sudden we hear creak, and we all, even the old man, we all looked up all scared. It was the grandmother. She had come down and she says, you guys are so quiet, you are scaring me. And he told her, and she came and she sat down, and we moved over, and we were there all looking, and she was like, never saw those pictures like that before. And we had a good time. The food was great, and it was scary, but we got scared because of the creaking of that. So then after that, he took pictures. He had a Polaroid camera, and he took quite a few pictures, and we all sat and looked, and nothing in the background. We thought, wow, we were trying to catch a ghost. But these were old pictures, and for some reason those cameras caught the picture of that person in the corner, sort of like that right there. And it was so funny. We were there just laughing and laughing. We thought it was so cool that we could see that face there, but nobody knew who it was and everything. So then I just thought it was sort of creepy and everything, but you didn't feel the creepiness in the house, even though we saw that in the pictures, like so many of them. But they were really nice, and he told his wife what I had seen on a movie. So, years later, I had kept in my friend and everything. My friend told me, "Oh yeah, they were getting poisoned with arsenic," and they had somebody come in and try to find where that arsenic was coming from, but and if it was from the fruit that they were growing or whatever, and they tested it, they didn't couldn't find where that came from. So they gave them the pills. She wasn't feeling sick from the arsenic yet, though, and that was the thing. But it was taking her longer to get well. That was the point. But it was not really a scary story. It's just that what's scary was that the grandmother had come down and went, "Roik." The creaking of the step just was so freaky, and we were all looking for scary ghost pictures, and we had eaten and everything, and we all had a good time. He was really nice. I was expecting, "You old little, you bastards," and all that kind of stuff, but no, he wasn't like that. And we had fun. We went home. They told me later that because I had that friend for years. When I went through high school, he was a friend, and I would go hang out with that group instead of my norm. And it was just fun. Um, Nobody was faking anything. That's what I liked. With my other friends, they were sort of really phony. And when that friendship ended, in a way, I was sort of relieved. Then I got a good best friend, Emmanuel Caddy, and we became really good friends. He was ready to stand up with me to fight against the bully and his friends. The bully couldn't get any friends to fight with him, so he ran away. And I had been tired, and I stood up to him. But that's another story. But it would have been cool if we had saw the ghost or something like that. And if that creaking step had been the ghost, it would have been cool too. But the picture, we didn't know who that was in the background. And it didn't look like a real form like us. It looked like a blurred image that just happened to be there. You know what I mean? And we were like, oh, it just creeped us out. But it was fun. These were just things that happen. Um, we looked through, I guess it was years and years of pictures, and in the years and years of pictures, he had pictures of his kids growing up, person in the corner, and everything. And we took pictures. He had this really cool Polaroid camera, and we took pictures. It was different than my brother Charlie. Charlie got one when he was younger, and his was big, and it took a cover off, and it was really big and everything. But this wasn't. It was more like the newer ones, but it wasn't a newer one. And it took pictures and flash and everything, and never saw one of those images appear in the corner when it developed. I guess wasn't sensitive enough like the other cameras that they had been taking pictures in the home before. But that was cool. But anyway, don't forget to subscribe to my channel up there, or to write a message, um, and put the hand up. I always do it at the beginning because I tend to forget to do it. But remember, AA, see you in church.